A driver got wrecked on purpose. Everyone in the garage knows it, and NASCAR just said nothing happened. No penalty, no points hit, no suspension, just a sit-down chat in a hauler. If you think that sounds like a slap on the wrist, wait until you hear how NASCAR is justifying it. Sunday at Chicagoland Speedway, lap 48. Austin Hill and Shane van Gisbergen are scrapping over 28th place. Not a glamorous fight, but a real one. Van Gisbergen's Chevrolet drives into the back of Hill's car in turn 4. Hill spins, his day is wrecked, and social media instantly lights up, wondering if this was retaliation. NASCAR pulled throttle, steering, and braking data. They combed radio transmissions, they reviewed camera angles from every direction. Their verdict, not enough proof, it was intentional, no penalty for either driver. But here's the twist, officials are still calling both drivers into the hauler this weekend at EchoPark Speedway for a face-to-face conversation. So it's not a penalty, it's a warning shot. This isn't NASCAR's first rodeo with contact turned controversy. The sanctioning body has a track record of only dropping the hammer when a driver flat out admits guilt. Ryan Preece and Denny Hamlin both found that out the hard way in past incidents. They said it was intentional and NASCAR made them pay for it. Van Gisbergen didn't do that. He radioed his team it was an accident, and that single sentence may have been the difference between a fine and a free pass. That's the real story here. NASCAR isn't just judging the wreck, they're judging the confession. And this isn't an isolated incident from the weekend. Zane Smith-Carson Hocevar also tangled at Chicagoland, and they're getting the same treatment. A hauler conversation, no points penalty. Two separate incidents, same outcome, same message from the sanctioning body. Heading into Atlanta, that message matters. Super speedway racing at Atlanta is chaotic, tight, and unforgiving. If tempers are still simmering from Chicagoland, one bump in traffic could turn into a pileup that ends multiple playoff caliber run. Let's break down what NASCAR is actually doing here, because it's smarter and riskier than it looks on the surface. By requiring an admission before handing out a penalty, NASCAR has built a system where the only way to get in trouble is to be honest about your intentions. Functionally, that teaches drivers the opposite lesson. Never admit anything, ever, no matter how it looked on camera. Is that dangerous? Potentially. It creates an incentive structure where retaliation becomes low risk as long as you stay disciplined on the radio. Any driver watching this ruling now knows exactly how far they can push things and still walk away clean. But there's a defensible angle too. NASCAR officials made the point themselves. Remove reasonable doubt and the penalty comes. That's not weakness, that's due process. Racing incidents happen in split seconds at 188 plus miles an hour. Definitively proving intent without a confession is genuinely difficult, and NASCAR doesn't want to start suspending drivers off pure speculation. The real strategic move here isn't the non-penalty, it's the hauler meeting. NASCAR is essentially saying, we can't prove it, but we're watching you. It's a private warning designed to diffuse tension before it becomes a pattern, especially with Atlanta looming, a track where retaliation at the wrong moment can wreck half the field. The gamble is whether these drivers actually take the message seriously, or whether they see a non-penalty as a green light. Expect the NASCAR fan base to split hard on this one. One side is going to call this exactly what it looks like, favoritism toward a driver who didn't outright confess, while the guy who got wrecked is left with nothing but a damaged car and a hauler apology. The other side will back NASCAR's caution, arguing that suspending or fining drivers on suspicion alone opens the door to inconsistent, reactionary officiating. Analysts covering the sport are likely to focus less on whether the ruling was right and more on whether it actually works. A hauler conversation only prevents escalation if both drivers walk out of that room actually cooling off, not just nodding along and waiting for the next chance. Best case, the hauler meeting does exactly what it's designed to do. Hill and Van Gisbergen clear the air. Competition officials make it clear this won't be tolerated again, and both move on with clean racing at Atlanta and beyond. Smith and Hocevar follow the same path. Crisis averted, no lasting damage. Worst case, Hill feels disrespected by the lack of an actual penalty and decides to settle it himself on track. At a track like Atlanta, where cars run in tight packs at full speed, any retaliation attempt could collect innocent drivers and turn a personal beef into a multi-car incident that affects the playoff picture for teams who had nothing to do with the original wreck. So here's the real question. Did NASCAR just avoid overreacting, or did they just teach every driver in that garage how to get away with payback? Drop your take in the comments. Would you have penalized Van Gisbergen, or does NASCAR standard actually make sense to you? If you want the breakdown before every NASCAR headline blows up, make sure you're subscribed, because this Atlanta storyline is far from over.